Hello again out there, and welcome inside another edition of the Adam Jones podcast. I'm Jerry Coleman. He's the former five-time All-Star Adam Jones, and we enter episode number 45, AJ. We'll be joined by former player and current broadcaster Dontrelle Willis, the D-Train, coming aboard. Adam and I are also going to discuss when fans go too wild. That happened recently at a Major League Baseball park and made us all shake our heads collectively. SMH. In addition, MLB's got a brand new program, or is it brand new? Adam will explain. It's the Ambassador, the CAP Ambassador program that we'll be talking about, plus another edition of Socially Speaking. And this week, we focus on your correspondences to our Twitter poll, some call it X, about the Ravens. And speaking of, the Baltimore Banner is launching its second podcast. We were the first, of course, Adam. It's a new podcast called The Ravens Wrap, and it's hosted by Paul Moncano and Jonas Schaefer. It'll air twice a week and include in-depth analysis and breakdowns about the Ravens from the Banner's deep roster of reporters as the Ravens get set for week one. So get a hold of that Ravens Wrap podcast, courtesy of the Baltimore Banner. As always, we begin with our special featured guest brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood. He is the former pitcher, current Fox Sports analyst. The D-Train, Dontrelle Willis, joins us here on the Adam Jones podcast. Dontrelle, appreciate you taking the time. You're in a different time zone than all of us, so we won't get into that. But I want to begin with the nickname D-Train. Where did that emanate from? Was that laid on you at an early age? I know you didn't come up with that.
No, I'm definitely not smart enough to come up with something like that. But
well, you can't give yourself your own nickname. That's
no. Yeah, definitely a rule. One of my favorite teammates, AJ Burnett, he was a captain for us at the time, and he actually got hurt with Tommy John, and he straight up went to battle for me to be able to get called up. And then all of a sudden, I go on this miraculous run as a rookie, and he was loving every minute of it, and he just called me the D-Train, and he said, we're going to go as far as you take us, rookie. And I didn't like it at all, actually, to be honest with you, because I'm a type of guy where I want to be part of the group. I don't like being singled out and what have you, and people started showing up with train whistles and crazy stuff like that and what have you. But he's the one that coined the nickname, so every time I sign a signature at a card show, he says I owe him money.
Hey, Trains, man, always good to catch up with you, bro. First off, a black ace. Not many people know that. These are African Americans with 20 wins. It's a very small group, and he is one of them. Sabathia is one. David Price is the other. Newcomb, Gibson, Fergie Jenkins. Did I get them all?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Okay.
Norris, Norris, yeah.
Norris, Norris, I got to give you flowers, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
You recently covered the Orioles. How good are they, man? Let's just talk about baseball. How good are the Orioles? You watch baseball all day. How good are they?
Mm-hmm. First of all, it's important for them to be good in Baltimore, for the city, for that fan base. I love the energy that's returned back to Camden Yards. Camden Yards is a cathedral to us baseball players. I mean, it's a beautiful confine, and so athletically, I think they took a page out of the Tampa Bay Rays as far as they brought up guys that play together in the minor leagues, learn how to win with each other in the minor leagues, and they are athletic and they hit bombs and they're not afraid of anybody. And I mean, it seems like every time they call somebody up, it's like Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman. I mean, they are ready to perform at the highest level right now. And so Brandon Hyde just sits back and says, hey, man, I'm just going to let those guys go out there and play because he trusts the process of teaching those guys how to play the right way. And so they took their lumps, the Santanders and the Cedric Nolans, and learning how to play in that division like you did in the tough AL East. And now, man, every time they're on the field, man, they are truly fun to watch. And so, they have about 5-6 guys in their lineup that can beat you on every given day. And that's what makes them difficult to beat. And so it's fun to watch. They like playing with each other. And I think that's a component that doesn't necessarily go on the back of a baseball card, but they feel like they can put a stomping on anybody. And it's fun. And baseball needs these type of teams in these regions to be very good and perform well and stuff. So I got them going to the American League Championship. I put that out there on Fox.
Okay.
I got them, but I think I think Bradish and Rodriguez are going to have to step up earlier than what was expected from the front office, in the sense of you can't put any innings limit on them now. They have to really grow up now and go out there and pitch, and they have the stuff to do it. You're hoping that they don't get hurt, you know what I mean, trying to get them into the postseason because the Rays are still nipping at their heels.
And that was my question. It's a loaded question. Innings limit. Well, you just debunked that. And you came up as a young starter with Burnett, with Beckett. You guys were young starters. And you guys won the World Series. So we're talking about innings limits. They throw that out the window. What can these dudes do to, like you said, you got them in ALCS, but what can they do to get past that, even though they're all young? You guys was young having fun. It's a different era. We have a different type of fun these days. You know, it's a little different.
Yeah.
But what can these young starters do from a guy who was in the fire? What can they do to get through and to debunk everything about innings limit and they're tired? I worked my ass off my whole life for this.
You know, it's funny. I'm a special assistant to the farm director for the Dodgers, Will Rhymes, which I'm still trying to figure out what that job title really means for the Dodgers. But it seems like we're getting more stuff to train these kids harder to pitch less. And so that starts really in the minor leagues, teaching these guys how to go 5 innings and above. And I'm not saying they need to go complete game, but it's not so much the pitch count as opposed to getting up and getting down and learning how to navigate lineups. I mean, these kids have max effort throws, and you look at a Grayson Rodriguez and he throws the ball anywhere from 96 to 100 miles an hour, but can he learn how to really navigate lineups and be able to keep that arm strength, keep that leg strength, and be able to shorten the game for a Brandon Hyde and what have you? Because that 5th, 6th inning you're seeing right now is very important. If a guy can get through the 6th inning, the game is shortened for the manager. But if he comes out in the 4th and the 5th, now the manager has to guess 5 guys out of that bullpen to be correct. And if one guy's not, you lose the game. And so for me, I always argue about, like, we need to start teaching these kids how to really get through at least 5 innings. So not only their arm can be useful, but their legs and their mind can be useful just going out and how to attack and navigate lineups. So I think that's a system thing, not just organization thing. I think they're teaching these high-level prospects to go out there and throw 45, 50 pitches. Well, what does that teach them? Because, you know, in the big leagues, you can throw 30 pitches in 1 inning, in a long inning. And so I think we need to start teaching that in the minor leagues, just across the board a little better. I think you'll see more productivity from the rotation. Now, if you're looking at the Orioles, man, you got to take that governor off that Ferrari. Like, you just gotta sell out, because the window of winning can open and close so quickly. And so when you have a offense that's a World Series caliber offense, you got to trust these young guys and stuff to go out there and get outs and get it to the bullpen, because you see what happens when you overuse your bullpen. Now, Bautista's down, and he's one of the best arms. And so if you overuse your bullpen, that comes the risk.
I think we all agree that Gunnar Henderson's going to win the Rookie of the Year, barring something crazy occurring. But as far as where he fits in with this team, some would argue he's the best player on this team, with no disrespect to Adley Rutschman, but this kid has really come alive in his rookie year, as you've witnessed.
You know, I called the Apple TV game when he got called up. I believe it was, or maybe briefly, against the Minnesota Twins, and everybody in the locker room was like, "Hey, this Gunnar Henderson." And I'm like, "Man, he's been in the big leagues for 2 hours. How you know how he's going to be impactful?" Like, you know what I mean? And he had a mindset and a swagger about him that he says, "Listen, I'm going to kick the door down." And they put him right in the leadoff spot, which is a big responsibility, especially when you have a playoff caliber team. And man, he hit the ground running, and he had the swagger like Mick Jagger, and he was barreling baseballs, and he's athletic, and he can do it all. And so he is a big component. He's going to be the future. And it really, to be honest with you, it took a lot of pressure off Adley Rutschman, you know, because to me, Adley Rutschman is the key to everything, that whole organization, because he's the Joe Mauer. He's the guy that can handle the staff. He can hit with power to all fields and what have you. But if you have 4 or 5 guys at the top of that lineup, man, as a starting pitcher, it's like I can't pitch around the whole damn team. You know, so he's a big component of that.
Hey, you mentioned something that stuck in my mind when you said it. It's just like dynasties. What can the Orioles do to be? You work with the Dodgers. You work with, obviously, you got the Mookies, the Freddies that you're able to go and mingle with, whose mindset is completely different than a 22-year-old, because they've been there, done that. What can the Orioles do to have that without having LA's budget, LA's limelight. You're in Baltimore. Economics are a little bit different. What can the Orioles do systematically? Is that the right word? To have what the Dodgers have without obviously spending that coin, because not many people are out spending LA.
Yeah, they have to take a page out of the Atlanta Braves book. I mean, this is the core guys. This is it right here with their rosterman. Get in front of that now. Don't allow them to get to the free agent years and what have you, and selling on them to be the upstart. Like me and Miguel Cabrera, we never wanted to really leave Miami because we felt like we were the upstart. You know what I mean? Of not so much a dynasty, but like an organizational face of being able to be competitive every year. And we were until we got traded to Detroit. And so they have to get in front of that. They just have to get in front of some of the guys. And yeah, does it take a lot of risk? Obviously, you want guys to continue to perform and stay healthy, but I just love this roster. I mean, Hayes and Mullins, and I mean, they play very hard. And the one thing I love about it, and the reason why they defend, you have to be able to catch the ball. Adam, you guys were great about catching the ball, like playing. It's like, yeah, we can't give up runs, but if we can keep it in this ballpark, we have to be able to go get it. And so they play with that same mindset and intensity. So I don't think you're going to get any better. Now, this Jackson Holiday, I've been talking to his daddy. This Jackson Holiday might be a problem when he gets called up too, but you got to get in front of that and be able to take away some free agent years. And yes, you might have to sign some guys, but if you hit, you'll look in a situation like the Atlanta Braves. I think Albies deal is for $35 million over 7 years. I mean, Acuna Jr., that looks like a bargain at $100 million, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So, yeah, even though you don't have the money, this ownership is still going to have to sell some blue crab and be able to get in front of it and keep some of these core guys.
I agree. Anyone who doesn't have Scott Boras as their agent probably can be proactive and maybe get the Orioles to get them, or the Orioles can get them at a bargain rate if they can. But you mentioned already Jackson Holiday. There's Heston Kjerstad. The minors are loaded. They have more prospects in the top 100 than any team in baseball. What are they lacking? I guess starting pitching is maybe something they have to look at down the road, or maybe there's some arms in the minor leagues. But that's the one thing that I think people worry about being a weakness for this team. And you addressed it earlier, is going into the postseason, how these arms are going to be handled. And obviously with the window open the way it is, because a lot of these guys that we've referenced are under contract for at least 2-3 more years, Dontrelle.
Yeah, well, you have John Means coming back, and so he's coming back from injury. I love his stuff from the left side. They already have a 6-man rotation, so how does he fit into that? You know what I mean, as far as like getting enough work to be valuable for the postseason, because I think they need a left side look to be able to sandwich between Bradish and Rodriguez. But again, it's also teaching them how to be able to stay healthy. That's the one thing that the Dodgers are elite about, and you're seeing the Houston Astros are elite about. They teaching guys that have stuff to be able to stay healthy. If you're looking at the Bobby Millers of the world, well, I mean, if you look at the Baltimore Orioles, they have arms and cannons too, but you have to teach these kids to be able to navigate lineup. I think that's the biggest reason why Grayson Rodriguez is successful over his last 7 starts, is because he's pitching smart with his stuff. I'm not attacking Aaron Judge. Why am I giving him something to hit? I'm going to go after Gleyber Torres. You know what I mean? And the intellect of that and being able to navigate lineups and what have you. And so they need to learn how to pitch in that sequence of that. And so, but it starts in the minor leagues, man. You got to be able to teach guys to be able to get through 5 innings and be able to stay healthy through a whole season. And so you're not looking at it at 130 innings. And I mean, I know I can't bend my elbow straight now, but I mean, 130 innings was nothing in the minor leagues. You know what I mean? Like, it was because they were teaching us to be able to go 6-7 innings, so we can go 6-7 innings if we make it to the big leagues. So I think it's a mentality as far as the rotation from rookie ball all the way to AAA. We need to start going deeper in ball games so we can take the pressure off our weapons in the bullpen, because the bullpen has talent, but you can't have guys coming out of the bullpen that have 60, 70 appearances, because ultimately they're going to break down.
Recently, you got to see the spectacle in Dodger Stadium. Brave Dodgers, Acuna, Betts, Freeman, Olsen, the replacement. He replaced him. First off, watching that live, and go back to the highlights. Acuna hitting the ball 121 miles an hour, grand slam. Betts tying it up back to back, going deep. Freeman doing whatever he does every night. Like, who's the MVP first? In opinion, again, still more time. But how good was that? Like that atmosphere. That's what baseball needs. You need that flair. I love Joe Davis, his energy. Like you need that.
I changed my flight to New York for game one. I was supposed to be in New York working, and I said, listen, look, I'm going to use my field pass to get in here for free, and whatever empty seat I can sit in, I'm going to sit in it. And there was no empty seats, so I had to stand and watch. It was a preview of the National League Championship, I felt like. And no disrespect to the Philadelphia Phillies because they coming, but, you know, the star power, the athletic ability, and it was almost like, you know, you had two big college football teams that have Heisman hopefuls on both teams. So they knew they had to show up, and both of those guys did. And so, I mean, Acuna Jr. left there. I mean, the team won 3 out of 4 in the Dodgers' house, and Acuna Jr. factored in that. But, you know, my boy Mookie's still nipping at his heels. But Acuna Jr. kind of put a, you know, exclamation point into that, and he still has a chance to hit 40-40. You know, Mookie's been slugging very well, but oh man, I know I got this Dodger t-shirt on, so I hope I get back in the stadium. But, you know, I think it's going to still be a race. But right now, I think after Acuna Jr. had that monster series, he has the edge a little bit with voters. But Mookie Betts, he plays multiple positions. He's elite at multiple positions. I mean, the way he's slugging the baseball and knocking the cover off it, he hit 400 in August, which you know, Adam, how difficult that is to do. And so he's still right there, and I think he's going to, you know, steer some voters away to his side. But yeah, this is still a race, and we'll see how guys finish. But Mookie's right there on his heels.
Our continuing conversation with former pitcher and current broadcaster Dontrelle Willis continues in a moment. But first, a word from our loyal, dedicated sponsors. Go out and support them, folks.
The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Charm City's favorite crab cake destination. Local sports fan, experience the ultimate pregame party at the tailgate. Cheer on the Ravens with iconic live performances, an open bar, and mouth-watering eats. Can't make it? No worries. Bring the same food that caught the attention of the Food Network right to your doorstep. Shipping East Coast recipes nationwide. Jimmy's Famous Seafood is the official sponsor of the guests appearing on the Adam Jones Podcast. And by our friends at the Weinman Company. By Hollywood Casino Perryville. For some, it's a game of chance, but for you, it's a game of choice. Hollywood and Barstool are bringing you more ways to bet in Maryland. Catch all the action in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville at the Barstool Sportsbook, or bet online with the Barstool Sportsbook app. When you download the Barstool Sportsbook app, register, and wager, you can get up to $1,000 bonus cash, plus up to $1,000 when you sign up and wager in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville. Play from anywhere and get up to $2,000. The choice is yours. Must be in the state of Maryland to wager and over 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. By Jack Daniel's, 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, the #1 cocktail in the world, is now available in a can. Yes, that's true. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, mixed with Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, are now both available in a can. 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, ready to drink? Please drink responsibly. Whiskey Specialty, 7% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, Lynchburg, Tennessee. By Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction, like leak investigation, framing, trim carpentry, insulation, drywall, painting, wallpaper, flooring, masonry, waterproofing, paving, tree removal, and much more. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. By G-Leaf Medical Cannabis Only. Visit gleaf.com. Medical cannabis is for qualified Maryland patients only. The Adam Jones Podcast is brought to you by Royal Farms. Download the Royal Farms app from the Apple App Store or Google Play today. New Royal Farms Rewards members will get a free any-size cup of Royal Farms award-winning coffee just for signing up.
You know, it takes a lot of hard work to be a professional football kicker. I would know. I am a professional football kicker. So when I need the energy to get through a tough practice, I get a cup of coffee from Royal Farms.
Try those beans.
Royal Farms' new coffee machines grind fresh beans and brew them for a perfect cup every time. It's the freshest coffee in the world, and just the kick I need.
Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
And a reminder, if you guys are enjoying this podcast, make sure to check out the Baltimore Banner at thebaltimorebanner.com/AJ to get started.
Now it's back to Dontrelle Willis and our chat here with him on the Adam Jones Podcast. Let's get back into it. Dontrelle, I wanted to ask you about the sport in general, and we're speaking about the postseason. As you know, the NFL begins this week. We'll get to our Ravens predictions coming up a little later in the podcast. But some feel like the baseball postseason gets overshadowed by the NFL's regular season. I don't know how you combat that. You work at a network that carries both. Do you feel that's the case sometimes where, like, once we get to mid-October, everyone's starting to turn their attention to pigskin? But not if you're a true baseball fan, obviously.
No, I mean, it's just baseball has so many games. And you know, me and Adam have football friends. And the first thing out of their mouth is like, man, y'all play every day? Like, you know what I mean? And so for the casual fan, it seems to get a little jargony, especially if your team's not competitive or in the race late. But there's nothing like postseason baseball. There is nothing like postseason baseball. There's no energy that is matched. You're literally on the edge of your seat every single pitch. I mean, I learned my love for hard alcohol after 21 years old, just playing in the postseason. So, you know, I don't necessarily agree with that. But you know, I'm a big football fan. I'm a diehard Raiders fan. So, you know, there is excitement. I do think the NFL does a good job of really hyping it up and really keeping you informed with the season and really you getting ready for just one game a week, even for a short week. Sometimes they play Thursday night and stuff like that. So, but no, I don't agree with that. And when it comes to the postseason, at Fox, they, you know, the emphasis is just as high as college football or the NFL group because they understand how important it is for us to do a really good project. And so, no, I don't agree with that. But especially when you have these matchups and you see the upstart teams like the Baltimore Orioles get into it, it brings a new excitement and a new life. But that's not seeing the same, you know, Boston Red Sox or New York Yankees teams that are in it. It's no, the fun and excitement for baseball is always better in October.
Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. So now D-Train and CC are Raider fans, right? We've had two Raider fans on the podcast. Ravens don't play them this year.
Massive.
Yeah.
Thank God. Either I'm tired of losing bets.
They fight. They Raiders fans, you don't. Hey, there's 2 days you can rob a bank in California. It's when the Raiders and Chargers play. Both those days you can do whatever you want. It's all the cops is at the damn Coliseum. Okay. But you mentioned baseball seeing a little bit different shift now. When you have the better team, when you have the Orioles now back in the race, Tampa's still in the race. Biggest disappointments this year due to the fact that the Padres, the Mets, the Yankees, the Cardinals, all these guys are playoff-bound teams playoff teams last year. Big spenders, obviously, as always. What happened to all four franchises, really? What the hell happened to them?
Well, you look at the Padres and you know, you look at some of their numbers. I mean, you know, they're top 3 in team ERA, and you're like, how are they so bad? And so there's a component that the Orioles have that the Padres don't, and it's simple, and it doesn't go on the back of a baseball card. The Orioles, they like playing with each other. They enjoy playing for each other, and that shows. And so when they go up against a team that might match them talent-wise, knowing that you're going to run through a wall for your brother, that trumps the talent on the other side. And so you're seeing the joy. You're seeing the leadership in Baltimore and obviously the athletic ability. And I think the Padres, because of the lack of leadership, and Manny's my boy, you know what I mean? Xander's my boy, and I mean no disrespect to those guys, but you can tell that when they go up against a team that has just as much talent, they don't play very well. And so, and on top of it, they have Bob Melvin as their manager. And so you're looking at this roster and how it's constructed and their leadership, and you're thinking like, man, they're going to be a hard out. And a lot of experts picked them to win the West. And so I think that's what happened, where you got a bunch of guys that just really haven't got to the point where they enjoy playing with each other for the common goal of winning the world championship. And listen, there's a lot of chips and dips being paid out down there too. So expectation definitely brings pressure. And so I think that's what happened. A lot of guacamole. A lot of guac down there. You know what I mean? And so you look at the White Sox. I mean, that's clearly what happened. Like, you know what I mean? The environment was so toxic that they had to just clean house from the front office to the GM and all these guys. And, you know, Eloy Jimenez, and you look at Anderson, and you look at that roster and Giolito and Lance Lynn, you're like, why are they so bad? And it's like, well, you look in their culture of their clubhouse, they really stopped playing for each other after they lost 2 years ago against the Houston Astros. They were doomed after that. You know what I mean? And so anytime you look at a team that has like a great deal of talent, that's the first thing is like, man, maybe they just don't like playing for each other. And so you have to be careful of how you construct rosters and see what kind of guys they are. Is it a lot of me guys in the locker room that have talent, or is it a lot of team guys? Because that's very important.
Well, you have kids, Dontrelle. Adam has kids. I don't have any kids that I know of, but I wanted to ask you about the youth and getting them involved in baseball. It's been a continuing conversation on this podcast. How do you get more kids involved in baseball these days? Because it seems like there's too many other alternatives.
Say black kids.
What was that?
Say black kids. African American.
You're right. African American kids. No, you have to put boots on the ground. You have to put boots on the ground. That, you know what I mean? There's no how can I say this? There's no abbreviation for hard work, and people have to see that you believe in them, regardless of whatever you're doing. And so if you want to make a change and you want to make impact, they have to see you. And a lot of people, they know baseball, but they don't understand how it can be fun for them. And so that's very important, especially for African-American kids, to be able to teach them how to use their athleticism and how they can be impactful on the field. And they're not just in the outfield looking at butterflies fly away and what have you and not getting the ball, but there's more nuances in the game. And so that's why it's important for guys like Adam Jones. And, you know, Adam Jones, obviously a 5-time All-Star. He has gold gloves all over his house. But the reason why people loved him in Baltimore is because he showed his athleticism and he showed what he can do on the field and how he can be impactful. And so, and you look at the CeCe Sabathias of the world and the David Prices of the world. It's like, man, I can hold this little baseball, and if I throw it by these guys here, you know, I can be successful. You know, that's it. Like, you know what I mean? You have to be able to explain the game. Now, basketball and football, it has a more action and play time, so it's easier to narrate and easier to teach. Hey, man, just run that guy over and then run into the, you know, to the goalpost, and that's how you score. It's very simple. But baseball, it's like, well, if I'm standing over here, am I waiting for the ball? How am I going to be impactful to be able to enjoy the game and win the game? And so that's what I mean about being, you know, boots on the ground. You have to be able to teach the game. And plus, let's keep it 100. Baseball is not cheap. Them bats, 300, right. Them gloves, 300, those baseballs, you know. I remember I was losing tennis balls. My mom was like, that's your last damn tennis ball. I ain't buying no more tennis balls and stuff. You know what I mean?
I know your mama.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's expensive. So you need money, you need funds, you need facilities and what have you. And so, you know, I credit the Players Alliance. You know, Adam Jones has been on the ground. You know, Edwin Jackson has been on the ground doing it. You know, I've opened up a Boys and Girls Club back where I'm from. You know, it's all important, not only just to teach the kids the game, but how to stay out of trouble and how to have something positive in your life. And so when you don't have anything positive, I have a lot of friends that are like, man, I should have stuck with baseball because it really dictated how their life are going to be forward as an adult. So I thank God for the game of baseball because it saved my life.
Before we let you go, this is the final question, promise you. Balance. Playing baseball, obviously, just a job, going to work, going to the field, while having a family, kids. It's easy when you're by yourself. You got a girlfriend, okay, cool. Now you have kids. Then you retire. The transformation. How have you been able to balance? And what's your best advice to someone like myself and many others who retired, then getting into the media, getting into working for organizations? What's your best advice on how to get involved with that and how to balance it, most importantly, because I know your girls. They as active as anybody in the world, okay? They active. So the balance. No one ever knows the balance. You see on TV, like, oh, well, his phone is ringing up in between sets, okay? While he's talking. How do you find that balance?
Man, first of all, my phone shakes so much it loses weight. Like, it literally update after update. And me and you, Adam, we talked about that. And Chris Young, we talked about that, who's doing an outstanding job at MLB Network. And CeCe Sabathia, now you're starting to see him on TV. And I talked to all those guys about it. Again, I thank God that, you know, God blessed me to be able to go on television and bring my work ethic that I had in baseball to television. And that would be my advice. I mean, we don't just fall out of bed and make it to the big leagues. We have to have a certain amount of dog in us and a certain amount of work ethic in us. You have to bring that work ethic to, whatever you're doing post baseball. And so, I love the grind. I love learning. I love being able to work with, I consider myself the best Robin of all time. I mean, I get to work with Joe Davis, Kevin Burkhardt, guys like that. I mean, these are guys that are calling the World Series and the Super Bowl. I ain't doing nothing but riding their coattail to the top, baby. I did it with Miguel Cabrera. I'm going to do it with them now, too. So, again, you understand your limits, but at the same time, you have to push yourself. And so I talked to you, Adam, about and I'm so proud of you, man, about hey, man, it's not about the monetary value of it because you made millions of dollars and what have you. It's about, having something for yourself as an individual and as an adult. And who knows the game better than someone that's won multiple Gold Gloves? They want to hear from you. And so the work ethic has to come, and your family's going to understand that. And that's the one thing that's rare about an athlete's family. The kids kind of get in tune with it as they get older that, hey, dad's got to go study, or dad's got to go lift weights, or dad's got to go practice. And so, it's a beautiful, kind of a blend of, you still want to be a daddy. And I know you're a great dad, and my kids are all world and everything and going to Disneyland every other week and then going to a soccer tournament and stuff like that. But, you do the best you can to be able to be at some of the events, and some of the events you won't be able to. But in the end, kind of the sacrifice like you did for baseball, it's a sacrifice you have to do for your journalistic, career as well. And so, and trust me, come off season after they host that World Series trophy, I'm right at the Chick-fil-A line getting a 30-piece for everybody and doing all the drop-offs and pick-offs and what have you. And so there'll be a balance to where you can fit yourself into this being a dad because, us as men, we need that to be able to be involved in our kids' life. So that's where you balance out. But as far as being on TV, man, and I love it. I enjoy it, man. And I thank God. And I think, our families are like, hey, he need to get out of the house. He can't just be in here all day. You know what I mean? True. He need to get out of the house just for his mental and stuff. So, but the work ethic, I think that's the advice I would give anybody is whatever work you put into baseball to get yourself to the top, that's exactly what you need to put in work for television as well.
Dontrelle, it's been informative. It's been entertaining.
Thank you.
I must say, it was a pleasure watching you pitch, but it's even just as entertaining watching you on the tube. So keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing it very, very well.
Hey, thank you, guys. Keep kicking butt on this podcast. And Adam, I'm so proud of you, dog. And don't be late for the game call tomorrow. Don't be late for the game call tomorrow.
I'm not.
That pot of coffee.
I am. Cheaters.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dontrelle.
Thank you, guys.
Well, Adam, now correct me if I'm wrong, and you always do. You never played with Dontrelle. You played against him, but he's become one of the great voices of the sport.
So we had spring training. He was still he was trying to make his comeback. So we never played in the regular season with each other. I faced him a handful of times. I don't know how many. But, dude, you got to understand how awesome this dude is to face because you see how energetic he is. He's talking all kind of stuff when you on the field. Oh, you got a fast? Okay, 2-0. Okay, you're going to get a fastball. I hit a double. Oh, you got a double? You got that foot down. I see. Okay, you got that foot down. Okay, I got that. And it was playful, but it was like, hey, we going against each other. We backyard. We playing in the backyard. We're in the major leagues. We're playing backyard baseball still, though. And you have to remember that he was playing the game like a kid. And now the transformation, that's why I asked about it, is the transformation to doing something else. Because as an athlete, okay, we can make tons of money and then never do anything the rest of our lives. We can do that. There has to be some substance for life. And he is a great example of that, of going from the field. And then, he calls himself a Jamaican. He worked like 6 jobs. And it's amazing because he's in tune to it. But like he said, he wants to learn. And if you don't want to learn at that level, you'll never be where he's at right now. And he's riding himself to the top. He got a couple Emmys. What? That's awesome.
No, both of you guys have done it the right way. You both talked a lot when you played at a high level, and now have transitioned into the next stage of your career in the media. And it's working out well, especially with this podcast, at least through 45 episodes. We'll see if we get to 46.
You have to show yourself, though. And that's the biggest thing is people always said, oh, guys are cocky because, come on, I'm cocky because I'm talking, I'm having fun. This is some people, you got to understand, some people don't grow up like you, so they don't understand your lingo. And the sooner you understand that, I understood that about like 13. There was the quicker I gave no rat's ass about anybody saying that, oh, you're cocky. You're cocky. I'm better than you. What you want me to say? Sorry? No, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry that you stink. Get better. Work harder.
All right, let's get to our For the Birds segment. We have a new sponsor coming aboard. Can't mention them just yet, but they're going to be sponsoring our segment. And this week we're talking about when baseball fans go wild, AJ. It can be frightening, a really weird and bizarre situation when fans simply trespass, as you tweeted or X'd. This should never happen. And the players should be able to protect themselves. You don't know what these losers have. I'm reading right from the X. They should be prosecuted, you're right, to the max of the law. Now, in the 70s, as you know, growing up just like me, it was very prominent. I mean, you watch Hank Aaron break Babe Ruth's all-time home run record. There's some nut job who somehow got past all the security in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium that night and rounded the bases with the great Hammer and Hank, which is crazy to think about. You look at the video, go on YouTube where you can watch this podcast, and look at the 1976 American League Championship Series when the Yankees captured that inside the Bronx. Chris Chambliss with a dramatic homer, and he had to fight his way off the field, literally punch his way off the field along with Thurman Munson. Now, fans somehow stormed the stands a lot back in the 70s. Then we get to the 80s, and it was Morgana the Kissing Bandit, who seemed harmless. She would come out, maybe kiss you on the lips. If you weren't married, if you were, you would prefer a peck on the cheek. But it seemed harmless until what we saw recently with Ronald Acuna Jr., as you pointed out, again on X. Where was his teammates? Where was, more importantly, the security in Colorado that night? And has this ever happened to you, as we'll get into?
Well, the documentary with Hank Aaron, let's go all the way back. I watched the documentary, and there was like FBI agents were snipers were locked in on anything around Mr. Aaron because they wanted to make sure that this record was safe and, he got safe. And then these two guys come randomly running around, and I don't know the correct word. It was two. I don't know the correct word is like something that is like they're forever going to be etched in one of the greatest moments of sports history forever. They'll always be known as the two guys with Hank Aaron as he celebrated his home run. Iconic is definitely the word. When it comes to Acuna, no, go back to the Yankees. I remember watching the video. Them dudes are going nuts trying to get off the field. Granted, those times there wasn't as many security. You didn't think. I mean, no, celebrations happen like that though on the field, and you look at all the old Super Bowls and all that kind of stuff. Celebrations happen with the fans and all that kind of stuff. It starts to get crazier, especially the 70s, because you got the Vietnam War. So the mindset of the country and people was probably different. I was not alive then. You can probably help me out with that. Chips, you were a little bit senior to us. But the Acuna situation is something that just can't happen. First and foremost, where the hell is like the Rockies bullpen, since he's a right fielder? It's not on them. Where's his center fielder? Where's the second baseman? Like, it doesn't matter if I'm on defense or offense, doesn't matter, and somebody is charging the field and attacking anybody on the field, your ass is mine. Why are you here? Number one, I'm protecting my brother. We don't know you. This is a family on here. Again, I'm going against this guy, that guy. I'm going against the other team. But once the line is crossed, and hey, no, we're brotherhood. We protect ourselves against anything that's outside of this. The Tom Gamboa situation with the Royals first base coach, the White Sox players, you should see the White Sox guys, how they were beating the hell out those guys, as they should have. Stay off the field.
You're breaking the law. You're trespassing.
But the second guy that came out with Acuna, and it was like jumping. You can see the video. He's jumping like, what the hell are you doing?
And how did he get there before everyone else?
But what are you jumping, and like, what do you really want with Acuna? And Acuna, bruh, you're not taking the Latin lessons. You can't throw them hands up. Don't ever let nobody touch you. Hell no. I teach my kids this. Don't ever let nobody touch you. Ever. If it's not wanted, like, I'm on a baseball field. Only person that should give me a high five, a handshake, a pat on the ass is my teammates, possibly an umpire. If you never know how the interactions is. You might grow up with the guys. That's it. Besides that, nobody. Maybe a clubhouse guy underneath, but on the field in those grass, there shouldn't be nobody to say hi to or touch me. And you're gonna let that, man, I would have knocked the hell out those dudes and deal with the consequences. Obviously, I'm gonna sue you. Try that one.
Go ahead. Acuna took it very well, but I thought he was too lax. In
100%.
football,
Hell no. They dropped you. You
right.
fail, Acuna. Like and trust me, I love him. Just those situations, like that's when that trigger in my mind is like, hey, hold on, I'm snapping right. I'm in the jungle now. It's unacceptable.
Well,
What the hell are you doing on the field, guys?
Yeah, a couple of things jumped into my mind. First of all, with football, that's not going to occur here in Baltimore. We all remember Mike Curtis leveling some drunk fan who came onto the field. I happened to be at a Super Bowl once, and Mike Vrabel was still a player with the Patriots. It was during a commercial break, but a streaker ran onto the field in the Super Bowl, and he leveled that guy. And that guy couldn't get up on his own. That's the way it's done. But as far as what we saw more recently, I mean, Colorado, you got to do a better job getting security out there. They need Messi's security guy. That guy knows how to protect his player.
The thing is that, you've been to the ballpark, Camden Yards. The security guys the security personnel are ladies and gentlemen. They're older. They're in their 60s. Some are in their 70s. Some are in their damn 80s. And if somebody really wants to get down there, get out of my way, okay? I'm going down there. So you can't stop the actual guy from getting down there. You can't, because, if you want to really, if a 25-year-old wants to overpower a 60-year-old, the chances are that he can do it.
Yeah.
So it's just the penalties on this has to be so harsh and severe to where if the person does this, and again, they do these stupid ass GoFundMes, I get that. And people do it. You do stupid things, people GoFundMe and get you out of jail. But the penalties have to be harsh on this. I remember in, I think it was 2009, some dude, we still had the turf and around the warning track, he jumped over and I heard him snap his ankle over our dugout, snapped his ankle, and he got up and, excuse my language, he said, fuck this, and went back down and waited for the cops to pick him up and just walked in. And I was literally like 3 feet from it. And I'm like, somebody just jumping over here in the 8th inning, like, and just heard. And
was that the only time that's occurred with you?
Nah, people have walked on the field or ran on the field. You don't walk on the field many times. And I remember in Minnesota, some idiot comes out there, and this is old Minnesota, the turf. I remember the cops. I got close to it. I'm screaming, what the hell are you doing? I didn't say hell. But the cops were like getting the knee and dragging his head all in the turf. And I'm like, that's what you should do. And drag his ass up and pick him up and take his ass to where he needs to go. But like, it just, I get it. I get it. I've had a beer or two. I remember being drunk my first time. You know what I mean? I remember impressing friends. But in that capacity, like the Orioles video, the jackass that jumps over the fence, falls, and then goes sprint out and then the security guard, boom, beelines. And I remember when I was Mr. Splash, I would talk to security dudes right there. I'm like, y'all ready? And they'd be like, hell yeah, I've been building this up for a long time. I wish somebody would test me today. So, hey, security dudes, keep getting after them. Some of these cities, you got to get a little bit younger with security.
I think Camden Yards does a great job with it because they have guys out there in between innings. The Yankees finally came around. You know what they utilize? You know what the best thing to break up trespassing or crowds is? Horses. They would bring horses onto the field in the playoffs when the Yankees would clinch, and you'd have policemen on horses. Remember Wade Boggs riding that horse after winning the World Series? Why do you think those horses were out there? To keep the hooligans off the field.
I mean, that's the difference. You can't use the horses today. You're getting in trouble with all kind of organizations.
That's true.
Try to
That's
use
true.
Those animals. I mean, get a dog. You know what I mean?
Couple of pit bulls.
Anybody, my Doberman. You get my Doberman. She'll keep people off the field. I guarantee Sarah keep people off the field in a heartbeat. But the penalties need to be so severe that it's just like it doesn't even entice you to do it. Like, to do it, you must be a real idiot. Again, still going to happen, but the penalties just need to be really severe.
And I said it earlier, if you haven't seen that video of Messi's bodyguard, that is a must-see because that guy, he's around Messi wherever he goes, and no one's going to get close to him with that guy out there. Like in Los Angeles the other night, some idiot tried to run on the field, and this guy sprinted from the sideline and intercepted him, and it was all over. So,
but see, okay, here's the thing to that though, is because Chip, you made a great point. Is college is the total opposite of professional sports.
They're starting to penalize schools though if they do disrupt.
If you're a prominent school and you defeat another prominent school, what the hell are you storming the court for? I don't give a damn about your ranking. If North Carolina is not ranked and they beat number 1 Duke, You should not storm the damn court. You're North Carolina. You're not Colgate, okay? You're not North Carolina Asheville, okay? You don't storm the damn court. And just too many. You're 16 and you beat a 12. What the hell are you storming the court for? That shouldn't work. But college football, same way. If you're a big program, like any of these, if your rankings are too close, no. Like you don't see Alabama storm, obviously, because of it. Duke, I don't know why the hell Duke would ever storm the court.
Well, it was a football game.
Okay. I'll give Duke football that because Duke football is trash. So I'll give it that. They ain't been none since my boy Malcolm was there. So the pros is a little different. You have to carry yourselves with a little bit. There's no like fan section in professional sports. You know what I mean? To where like the Dukies and the North Carolina people, there's not, or the Terrapins, there's not those kind of sections. So just avoid everything and stay the hell off the field. Unless you go to a college game. Now you want to go to a college game and rip some fireball with these young kids and rah, let's go. Let's do that. At the Ravens, at the Orioles, NBA, you're gonna get hurt.
As we were saying before we started the podcast, the last thing we need now is another Monica Seles incident. That should have been a learning lesson for everyone out there. Stay in your seats. All right, let's get in that big old jet in the sky and travel beyond Baltimore, our national perspective. And MLB has this CAP ambassador program, Adam. How did this come about? Explain what it entails, because it seemed like it was CC, who we've talked an awful lot about on this podcast, even though he hasn't been on, and then you, and now it's blossomed into a full-blown program put together by the commissioner. So let the people know what it's all about.
Well, the CAP Ambassador program is just a fantastic program with, after you've seen the group, absolute gems of players, but people. And our mission is to continue to grow this game, but also growing in a way that we can see the future. We understand we understand first off how to play the game. We understand how to monetize off the game. And we're trying to just build a bigger platform than just like, okay, teach these kids how to hit, teach these kids how to do this. No, we're teaching these kids how to be mindful of themselves, mindful of their surroundings, mindful of the game. But also, and most importantly, we're trying to be the big brother and bridge to the commissioner's office. For the longest time, there's been such a disconnect from Players Association through the commissioner's office. And I've worked for both, and I've been in both sides of the meetings many times, many years. And the common ground is to make the game better. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to make the game any more special. We're trying to make the game better, more efficient for both sides. And again, another important fact is what we're trying to do is we're trying to grow the game in the African-American community internationally. As you've seen Ichiro, we got pitchers on there too, unfortunately, obviously with CC and Troy Hawkins. But no, it's just a good group of guys who played the game the right way and want to see the game grow. The things that we have in place right now are so amazing. And again, I'll let you know on some of the things that we do, and I'll post them obviously on my social medias. But just know that the things that are in the works right now with the CAP program are special. We'll be at the World Series. Various guys will be at postseason places. If the Orioles continue this, I will be in Baltimore for game one. It would be October 7th. So we're showing face, but we're also good presence around the game. We're people who interacted with our fan bases. So you're getting a culmination of a lot of guys who maybe were a little bit out there, or I say soft-spoken or maybe reserved. Now you're getting the guys and bringing them back, like Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins with those organizations, Jeremy Guthrie. I mean, obviously one of the smartest guys, Jed Lowry. Like you're getting a really good group, LaTroy Hawkins. It's a wide range of group of guys that you're getting, and you're getting some valuable knowledge. And we're trying to just grow the game beautifully and aggressively.
Yeah, it's a great mix, and they should be making an impact, and I look forward to that, and especially during the postseason here in Baltimore. All right, let's get to Socially Speaking. This is where we answer a tweet or social media post or an X post. If you want to jump to the front of the line, all you have to do is rate the podcast. That'll probably qualify you for a Iron Rooster gift card, which we're going to be giving away. Now, last week, we conducted a poll, a last-minute poll. I'm still calling it Twitter. You can call it X. And we asked, what do you think the Ravens' record's going to be, Adam? And they opened their big season as favorites against Houston on Sunday here in Baltimore. And we asked to predict the Ravens' record for the upcoming season. We gave you 3 choices, 14-3, 12-5, 10-7, really 4 choices, or other. 12-5 came in at 53% of the votes. The second best was 10-7. 14-3 got 16%. Other got 8%. I'm going to say this. The Ravens will definitely win double digits in terms of victories. I have them going 12-5, but they will be judged solely by what they accomplish in the postseason, just like last year. Everyone's got their contract. Everyone got paid. Now it's time to play in the second season. What are your thoughts on the team?
Me, I am in the other. I'm in the smart bracket because there's one that's not up there. I'm going 11-6.
Okay.
Reason being is the division is good. Let's not say, oh, we're going to win. 12 is a lot of victories. 11 is a lot of victories. 10 is, I think, very doable. You just got to respect the division. I think 11-6 still gets you in the playoffs, but you got to respect the division. The Bengals are good. The Steelers are good. The Browns with Deshaun Watson with a full year and full spring training camp. There's a lot of things that can happen. I mean, he's a hell of a talent, obviously. It's going to be a tough division, as it always is, which it should be. It's the North. I say I'm going with the 8% of the other, and I'll be 11-6, but they're still making a postseason. And again, the Ravens are measured like the Steelers, like Belichick, Patriots. And now the Chiefs. They're measured in Super Bowls and what you do in the postseason. You're getting into the gauntlet. We get it. You're good enough to do that. What do you do in January? That's all that matters. Again, we're going to tweet about it. We're going to cry about it. We're going to MF everybody, fire Harbaugh and fire this dude. When it comes to January, that's when it matters. We all know that in Baltimore.
Well, our producer Chip thinks they're going to win 13 games. He's also produced the Banner's new Ravens Wrap podcast, which begins this week. It airs twice a week. Don't forget to check that out, along with the Adam Jones podcast. And don't forget to pay attention to our fine, loyal, dedicated sponsors. We thank them.
The Adam Jones podcast is brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, Charm City's favorite crab cake destination. Local sports fan, experience the ultimate pregame party at the tailgate. Cheer on the Ravens with iconic live performances, an open bar, and mouth-watering eats. Can't make it? No worries. Bring the same food that caught the attention of the Food Network right to your doorstep. Shipping East Coast recipes nationwide. Jimmy's Famous Seafood is the official sponsor of the guests appearing on the Adam Jones podcast. And by our friends at the Weinman Company. By Hollywood Casino Perryville. For some, it's a game of chance, but for you, it's a game of choice. Hollywood and Barstool are bringing you more ways to bet in Maryland. Catch all the action in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville at the Barstool Sportsbook, or bet online with the Barstool Sportsbook app. When you download the Barstool Sportsbook app, register, and wager, you can get up to $1,000 bonus cash, plus up to $1,000 when you sign up and wager in person at Hollywood Casino Perryville. Play from anywhere and get up to $2,000. The choice is yours. Must be in the state of Maryland to wager and over 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. By Jack Daniel's, 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, the #1 cocktail in the world, is now available in a can. Yes, that's true. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, mixed with Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, are now both available in a can. 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, ready to drink? Please drink responsibly. Whiskey Specialty, 7% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, Lynchburg, Tennessee. By Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction, like leak investigation, framing, trim carpentry, insulation, drywall, painting, wallpaper, flooring, masonry, waterproofing, paving, tree removal, and much more. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. By G-Leaf Medical Cannabis Only. Visit gleaf.com. Medical cannabis is for qualified Maryland patients only. The Adam Jones podcast is brought to you by Royal Farms. Download the Royal Farms app from the Apple App Store or Google Play today. New Royal Farms Rewards members will get a free any-size cup of Royal Farms award-winning coffee just for signing up.
You know, It takes a lot of hard work to be a professional football kicker. I would know. I am a professional football kicker. So when I need the energy to get through a tough practice, I get a cup of coffee from Royal Farms.
Try those beans.
Royal Farms' new coffee machines grind fresh beans and brew them for a perfect cup every time. It's the freshest coffee in the world, and just the kick I need.
Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Also, thanks to senior executive producer Chip Franklin. He got as many mentions during this podcast as CC Sabathia. Chip likes to vacation on the Cape. We call it bartending. Go out and subscribe to the banner. Until next time, be kind, be real, and be back for another episode of the Adam Jones Podcast, folks. See ya.